How's it going, everyone? It is your Draconic Tanker, and enraged at your service, bringing you a brand new video on a topic that isn't really much discussed or talked about. And of course, it is WOT tanks settings. So what this means, when I say when it's not covered, it's not really overlooked by a lot of people. There may have been some content creators that have probably covered this, but I'm going to cover it in my way for this video, just so I can show you what recommendations and tips from me that you can pick up along the way. And also, what is considerably to be optional settings as well. So first thing what you want to go and do is you want to click the left cog on top left screen and then go to settings. And we have all the tabs right here: general, graphics, sound, controls, reticle, marker and battle notifications. So what you want to do is, especially like in general, I would say like in certain sections like chat, for example, I would say this one is very optional, though it's not really bad having them on or off. But I would definitely keep it on. A couple of things maybe that you want, but some of these settings like this are entirely up to you and it's your decision. So of course when we scroll down, let's go to battle notification communication. Now battle communication is important, that is a must-have, so keep all those boxes ticked. Now we scroll down to random battle types. Now all I'm going to say is this is entirely up to you what game modes in the random battles you want to see. However, I've noticed if from a bad experience that I had weeks ago, I had assault and encounter off and I was only seeing standard battle. But you see, I didn't really like it because I didn't like the way the teams were, which it seemed to me was a problem. So I decided, you know what, let's put encounter and assault on. But here's the thing. At the time, I didn't disable it, because back those weeks, I was having a couple of account issues. Someone, when I went away, somehow someone managed to get into my account. So, he ended up turning on and off settings. But here's the thing, the other way someone could have got past that was obviously to do with a weak password and not having two-factor enabled. But I sorted all that out, so you don't need to worry. But my recommendation to you is I definitely would have encounter and assault on if you like to see different modes other than standard. Otherwise you are going to get particularly bored, and that's not going to be ideal. Grand battle I would keep disabled. Grand battles are a waste of time. They're utterly pointless. Winds and marking tanks does not count, so that's why it's most of the time left blank. And also you see more players in a lobby on each team, which could cause performance issues. Let's say for a low-end PC. Maps under development are pretty much the maps that I said that had random events. So of course there are 4 maps that are included in this option. I prefer to keep it on because I like having a variety of different things. You could turn it off as an option, but here's the thing. If you do have this enabled, I wouldn't be surprised the minimap, not the minimap, the type of maps you're going to be seeing, you might come across the same ones over and over again. I'm just hoping Wargaming are looking at to fix that issue, which I'm sure they will. Vehicle panel, optional. I prefer to have it 2 levels, so that means I'm seeing double in my garage, double lines. And I generally keep it adaptive. I don't really like minimalistic, because minimalistic isn't... I really don't like it on my eyes. Just thought I'd say that. Display stats upon hovering over a slot in a garage. I think it's... well... if you really want to be curious about what your win rates are on your vehicles without having to tab into statistics, I would probably keep it on, but for the most part, it's optional. On or off, doesn't really matter. Display customization elements of battle. Just keep them all on. Waste of time ticking these 2. Enable battle recording. I recommend you do have this on all. It's always good to have battle recording on. You go back at your good games in the replays folder. And then, of course, we've got Mark of Excellence, team members and whatnot, and anonymizing nickname in battle. And I would definitely keep these two on, they're important. Display server selection. If you want to load into the game straight away, keep this off. But if you want to select a server before you enter the game, then you can always have this on. Anonymize your nickname in battle. When you are anonymized, XVM does not track your stats. It just grays it all out when in battle, if anyone is using XVM. And also, your name will be shown up differently on the screen for anyone. And also, it can be a good way to prevent stream sniping, but it's kind of decreased the amount of times that would happen, which I think is good in a sense. So yeah, I prefer to keep it on just in case I get XVM sniped. So battle interface. So I'm going to run this down very briefly. And the tick boxes that I have on. And why I don't use an important setting as well, like server reticle. So here it goes. So I think if you follow the tick boxes on this side, I think it'll be a lot easier. I will explain the unticked boxes as well. I think the top three, pointless, waste of time. Dynamic camera, not really keen to use that. Neither commander camera. Camera zoom and tactical view is better. And horizontal stabilization. Whilst sniping. Enable the X16, X25. I wouldn't waste time with that, you're just going to zoom in more. And it can be really annoying. And more or less, I generally think it is a waste of time. Straight toggle and sniper mode shift key. You need as much freedom. I wouldn't have it on a shift key because then you might forget sometimes in that sniper mode. And also, there's another way you can zoom in, which obviously is the mouse scroll. But a lot of people most of the time just press shift anyway. Enable automatic hold lock in sniper mode. I wouldn't enable this. So when you have this on, when you are rotating in a TD that has no turret, like once you max out your gun out capacity, then the problem that you have is it won't turn. So it's always best to keep that off. Enable server reticle. Now, enabling server reticle, you're obviously going to have aim, but it's impartial. It's partial to being on the connection as what the server is that you're on. I don't technically use it because the only thing about having this off or on is if you are experiencing any lag, it's going to be kind of annoying. And sometimes I do get the odd lag spike or two, so that's why I don't really use server reticle. Preferred sniper mode zoom level, I keep this on X2. I recommend keeping that on the lowest one. Don't put it on last use or X4, X8, because sometimes you might forget to zoom back out or zoom back in. So X2 is generally reasonable. And these 5 tick boxes, I definitely would keep them ticked. Show vehicle HP, team panels, and minimap. Now, this is optional, like I said, but I prefer keeping it upon pressing Alt on my keyboard. Because the thing is if you do have these enabled, it takes up quite a bit of your minimap and your screen as well. I think it can be kind of triggering if you're having to play a battle and you really need to read the minimap. So it's best to keep that upon pressing Alt. Enable spam minimap features, keep on always. And illustrator tips. Configure as a switch on loading screen, keep off, waste of time. Minimap transparency, waste of time. And then have all these boxes here ticked. And you may as well keep this on default. This setting is another option as well. You can decide how never or how long you're idle for. And obviously keep this tick box enabled for it to work. But that's an option. I prefer to keep it as it is, because it's not really, it's fine. Nothing really needs changing with that. So once you've gotten through general, now we head over to graphics. Now, there's going to be a lot of things to talk about regarding graphics, a lot of options that enable and a lot of recommendations that I'm going to tell you and tips that you probably didn't know. So, ideally, like, graphics depends on your PC. It literally does. Like, from either weak PC or a very strong PC, does not matter. I'll try to explain this to the best of my ability as I can. So when you are inside water tanks on your screen, you want to make sure it's on windowed borderless at all times. And obviously, top resolution at all times. The highest one your monitor can go to. VSync, triple buffering. These two settings are always in sync with one another. But for the most part, if you have these two on, it feels like the game is a little bit more smoother. And also, this goes towards your monitor's refresh rate. Now, my monitor refresh rate is 144. So I will get 144 FPS capped at in every game that I'm in. It won't always be on that number. There are times where I'm in the game and there's a lot of things happening, so my FPS will drop a little, but it's alright. It's not really making much difference, but just so you know, having these on, you'll reduce latency problems. I mean, you can choose to have these settings off if the latency isn't really an issue. Next up, browser hardware acceleration. Recommend keeping this one ticked because you want your GPU to render him, not your CPU. Field of view, keep on 95. That's what I do. It's an option. I wouldn't enable dynamic field of view, waste of time. Dynamic adjustment, don't really make a difference if you have this setting ticked off or it's on 100%. Interface scaling, just leave on auto. And display, the monitor that I game on. Colorblind mode is your option as well. If you don't want to see red, if you want to see blue instead. Highlighting the opponent or enemy HP, you're more than welcome to. Now we're going to get into details. And this does depend on your PC. So like for example, I have an RTX 3070 Ti in my machine. So I'm able to cap my settings high as possible without any problems. Any RTX based series GPUs, for the main part, can have all these graphics turned up. But let's say if you're on a GTX, like a 10 series, then you won't be able to run your settings on maximum. So you would have to generally turn them down. Personally, I prefer to keep everything on max. Obviously, reducing settings can improve PC game performance, but I'm not always worried about performance. I'm in between graphics and performance, but I will say, for the most part, if you are a real try-hard gamer, then perhaps maybe you consider performance over graphics. But for me, I prefer to leave it like be in the middle. So now we get to the lighting and post-processing. I don't really like having my lighting quality on ultra. I like to stick between either high or maximum. Shadow quality, I would turn this all the way down. Why you want to do that? Well, it will improve your game performance massively. So it's best to keep the shadow quality down, and also it will be better rendering. Post-processing, just leave off. Not really doing anything. And always have motion blur turned off. You don't want to be playing the game where everything is blurry on your screen. For goodness sake, I don't know why this setting is even a thing, but just for the most part, just turn it off. Terrain and water, I prefer to keep mine on ultra. I can't really set one or two of these settings on low because I start getting desync. It's terrain quality. So let's say you're on a high-end GPU, like you gotta have this on ultra. Don't have it any lower than ultra because you're going to get performance issues with the game and it can be really annoying. But if you are on a GTX 10 series, then you can obviously need to have this high. You can have it down here or something. But it's entirely up to you. But for the most part, high GPU users keep it on ultra. Terrain tessellation, I prefer to keep on. And I don't want anything affecting my sniper mode, so I'll leave everything in sniper mode off. Now we move over to vegetation. This is considerably an option as well. But I prefer to keep my grass and vegetation low. Because when I'm on the battlefield, I don't really like seeing grass point up, and it can be annoying. Especially if you want a clear sniper mode. Grass is sniper mode. I would not recommend having that on. Foliage transparency. You can have this on or off, doesn't matter. And now we get to effects. Now, effects, optional. Hold time is optional. I prefer to keep my mine on medium though, for the most part. If you do turn this all the way low down, it means you won't see smog or smoke or gas coming from any of the tanks. But I keep mine on medium. Because sometimes when I have this setting on low, I feel like I get performance issues with my games. Battles that I play. Extra effects in sniper mode, always turn off. Anything about the sniper mode setting, always turn off. You need crystal clear view when you press shift and you're sniping. Like within that mode. Track physics, it's up to you what you want, but for the most part keep it down. It's just a basic physics animation. It's not really going to do me anything. And I keep these 3 boxes turned off. Just to get a little bit better performance whilst I'm in the game. So that's pretty much it for graphics and my recommendations. It's all about what type of GPU and what other system specs, like your memory or your CPU, that you have. So just keep that in mind. And of course my graphics is always on improved. Next, sound. Now, sound is entirely up to you. I'm not going to spend too long talking about this. So you can mess around with, play around with the audio sliders. And obviously your master volume. Recommend you do. If you're using pair of headphones, keep it on headphones. Use speaker system, keep it on speakers. I would say music in Battle and Garage, I don't really pay attention much to that. Because whilst I'm live, I usually play music anyway. And this will just be another more noise. But it's entirely up to you. You can have it on. It's not causing any harm. But yeah, for the most part, just have a play around with your audio. These tick boxes, well, up to you again. I prefer to keep mine on subtitles, to be honest with you. As for these drop-down boxes, this is a considerable option as well. No right or wrong with it. And the same goes with voice chat, but rarely, I don't really use voice chat. I use Discord. So if you feel like you've got all your settings on a good level on sound, then we head over to controls. Now, I would say for the most part the controls, I would leave most of these key bindings alone. But if you feel like you need to change anything depending on you, feel free to. Okay? But for the most part, you don't really want to be messing with much of these key bindings. And also, if you have a mouse with buttons on it, then you can just use the built-in software for that particular mouse to program key bindings in. But like I said, no right or wrong answer. But I really won't waste your time with common key bindings. Sensitivity is entirely up to you. I prefer to keep my arcade aim up to about here, to about 45%, I'm assuming, for me. Which obviously it's when you're driving your tank around, you're not in aim mode. If you are into my sniper aim, I have mine on low. I don't really like it too high, because I want to be able to aim at weak spots and anything comfortably. Artillery aim, I don't really mess around with that because I don't play arty. But again, up to you. I wouldn't bother with these tip boxes. Trust me, you don't want this. You'll just make it hard for yourself. Next up, Reticle. Like I said, up to you. But I certainly would recommend you have your indicator down to 50 because you don't want to see the whole thing. Because sometimes it shows something else. You might not be able to make it out when I'm messing with the slider, but you can see a faint green line pop up around everything else. So I really don't want to see that, so I keep it on 50 to lower the transparency of that. You want to keep every other slider on 100, but your aim point and your aiming and your gun marker, see which one you like. And it'll be the same with sniper mode. But the other thing with sniper mode, just keep this on 100. Everything on 100. On an arcade, keep this on 50. But your drop down boxes, pick whatever you like. Go whatever option suits you. And artillery, just keep everything on if you're a dedicated arty player. Outlining. Now, I would prefer you keep this on simplified, because when you put it on standard, more stuff's highlighted which are not weak spots on the tank. So it's best to keep this simplified so you don't confuse yourself. And these drop down boxes, have a play around, whatever you think is fine. And see what highlight or area when you're aiming an enemy tank is most comfortable like. Mine's pretty much like this. Solid means solid wall, textured object, and just a highlight of the tank. But have a play around with that, see which one you want. Marker. Now, this is another option as well, but for the most part, I certainly would keep all these tick boxes on. And have it on HP left / total on an enemy. Or you can go with HP left. These are the two I would stick with on the drop down menu. And the same goes down here. Alternative, which obviously that's when you press the Alt key. And our team, pretty much the same, but I prefer to keep mine on HP left. And destroyed, well, destroyed is destroyed, but I prefer to just keep icon, tier, and model. But you can have these ones on if you want, and I just keep it at %. You can also, and then there's the alternative option if you just press Alt on your keyboard. Battle notification. So this is another important tab as well that I'll go over very briefly. Keep on advanced. You want as much stuff to see as you can, because having these off can be annoying, especially when you're getting shot and you can't see what's doing you in. So keep these on. Battle events. I would just keep all these tick boxes on. They'll only appear when a certain action happens, so don't worry about that. So for the most part, keep it all on. Log. Now, I usually have the top 3 boxes ticked. Cause damage upon stun. I don't waste my time with that. It's just for arty. Detailed damage. So I always have it always on display. Keep this on as well. You want to keep an eye on how much damage you're doing in battle, especially if you're playing for damage. And event type, keep it on all. You want to see as much stuff as you possibly can that goes on. Position of events. Now, you can have this any way you like. If you are going to select the bottom option, make sure you're not on a low resolution. Make sure you're on the highest resolution possible, because it will appear up here. So just keep that in mind. Map border. Obviously, I'd have it either on wall or dotted line. Don't select do not display, you will get disorientated. And additional highlighting, I just click upon pressing Alt. Battle report and missions. You can pretty much do whatever you like with this, but for the most part, if you want to see HP, team hit points, feel free to keep these on. If you feel like it's a distraction, you can always turn them off. And as for your missions, you can just keep them on standard and display all. So that is the settings that I have, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pretty straightforward tutorial, not really any much to it, just me explaining in my words the ins and outs of all the settings. And also it may help players as well if you feel like you needed some guidance or any kind of leeway. So this means is we're finished. Next time back on YouTube, I will bring some gameplay out. I'll promise you that. Alright? Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Pardon me for my poor commentary. I'm sure I will still work on that. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you do feel like this helped. Much greatly appreciated if you do. Any kind of support. And if you want to catch my live streams, just make sure you head over to twitch.tv/OmniRaged. I will be live tomorrow. Anyway, that's it for this video, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you next time.